Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss about the time of day routing feature on the CUCM. So we will discuss how we can create the on-shift schedules, off-shift schedules, time schedule, and the time period. So let's start this lecture. So first, what we need to do. So before starting this time of day routing thing, you should have knowledge about these topics at least. That is the first one is basic call routing. You should know how the call routing works in the CUCM. You must have idea about the CSS and the partition. If you are new to this, you don't know what is call routing and what is calling search space, CSS and the partition, you can go and check out my videos on the call routing and the CSS and partitions, and then you can continue with this topic. So now let's start with this time of day routing thing. So in the time of day routing, what you need to do first, you need to create the time periods, time schedules, CSS, partitions, all these things. So let's discuss about the time period first. What is time period? So time period is mainly, we can say, we can define a time period. It's like a time frame in 24 hours of a day, right? So every week from a given day to any other day in a week, for example, Monday to Friday, that's a time period. Or you can say the schedule as well. Like schedule is a collection of one or more time periods. So in this example, we just took like Monday to Friday, and in the next example, we can say every year from a given day in a month to another day in the same or different month. For example, 1st Jan to 4 Feb. Or we can even define the times like if we are working 8 to 5 in a shift, that is our on shift schedule. And if we are not working after 5, then we can just determine that after hours, like after 5 p.m. till 8 a.m. in the morning as a off shift. So we can define in this way as well. And time schedule is the one thing that is, this is a collection of one or more time periods. Then we have the partition and the CSS things. So partition, it comprises of a logical grouping of DNs and the route patterns with similar characteristics. And the time schedule comprises of one or more time periods assigned to a partition. So whenever you are creating a partition, there is an option to mention the time period, the time schedule things there. So I will show you in the lab how we can create the partitions, CSS, and how we can give the time schedule and the time periods to this proper partition. Then we have this test case scenario, like we are going to discuss these same things in our today's lecture. And in the next lecture, I will be showing you how we can configure these things, how we can configure the time schedule, how we can configure the time periods, how we can configure the CSS partitions, all these things, and how we can actually give it to them. Like first we will create the time periods, then time schedule, then we will assign that schedule to the partitions. We will assign that partition to the directory numbers. Like this, I will show you everything how we can do that. So this is our test case scenario. With the help of this, uh, we are going to just show you like how we can configure these things. So there is one hotline number, that is, we can say 1-800-123-456. So our scenario is calls to this number between 8 hours till 4 hours are to be answered by agents. So we can say this is our on shift. So if there is any call between 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. in the evening, then calls should be answered by the agents. And beyond these timings, calls should be sent to the voicemail. Like if somebody is calling after 4 and till 8 a.m. in the morning next day, then those calls should be sent to the voicemail. So main thing is how we can configure these things. So main trick here is to have two numbers that are the same but in different partitions. So what we will do, we will create two partitions. One partition that would be for on shift, other partition that would be an off shift partition. And what we will do, we will use the one number, that is the same number, 18001234556. We will create two DNs and will give different partitions to different DNs. I will show you how we can give it. So what we will do, on this number 18001234556, this is just a hotline number. I can say this is just a I can say a toll-free number. So as soon as somebody is making a call from the outside to your company's environment, then it will come to your gateway, and your gateway will send that call to your call manager. And you can even convert this call to a 4-digit number, 6-digit number. That depends on your uh, environment, like how you are using the extension numbers. So we can even convert it in the like 1 2 3 4 4 5 6 3 4 5 6 anyone. So what we will do, we are using 180012345 as a hunt palette number in partition on shift. So why are we using this hunt palette number here? Because if somebody is calling between 8 to 4, it's not like there is only one agent in our environment. We are saying calls should be answered by agents. If somebody is calling on this number, and if this is a direct number, then that will go to only one agent. So that's why we are creating hunt pilot, like we are doing the hunting here. And under this number, we will like just add the 5, 6, or 10 agents, depends on our requirements, how we can create it. And then we will create another DN, normal simple DN with call forward all to voicemail option checked. I will show you how we can give this. So once we configure the line page of that particular directory number, there is an option to check mark call forward all to voicemail. We just need to give that check mark and just send the call to voicemail in that particular partition. Now, the next thing is, even though they are the same numbers, they exist into different partitions, of which only one partition is logically active at any given time. So how it is, how it is active at any particular time? Because we are giving the time periods, like from 8 to 4, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It should hit the partition on shift, and after 4 p.m. till 8 a.m. in the morning, it should hit the partition off shift. And how it should hit these partitions? Because we are giving this time period to the particular partitions, to this particular partition. I will show you there is an option in the partition to give this particular time periods or time schedules in the partitions. This is decided by the time schedule assigned to these partitions. Yeah, you are assigning time periods to the time schedule and then the time schedule to the partitions. So then we have when the hotline number is called between 8 to 4. Yeah, this is the same thing which I just discussed. The partition on shift will be active, and thus 180012345 it's a hunt pilot number. So it will reach out to the agents, whoever is added in that hunting. Now for any calls placed outside these timings, like between 4 p.m. till 8 a.m. in the morning next day. So for this, we need to create two off shift partitions, because we cannot create the time period like this 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. next day. We need to divide it in two parts, like 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. at the night on the same day, and then again next partition, off shift partition, from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning next day. So for any calls placed outside these timings, partition off shift will be active right after this timing 8 to 4. Off shift partition will be active, and therefore calls will be forwarded to the voicemail. So now what all are the steps we need to do? So these are the main 5 steps. First step is we need to create a time period. We can create a time period for the time frame between 8 hours till 4 hours. So 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. we will create one time period, and we will name it as a on shift partition, on shift time period. Then we will create two off shift time periods. Now this is the thing which I just discussed. We will create two off shift time periods. So one from 4 to 12 for that particular day, and another off shift time period from 12 to 8 a.m. in the morning for the next day, so that it will take proper 24 hours, like from 8 a.m. from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. it will take the on shift. From 4 till 12 for particular that day it will take off shift, and then for the next day 12 a.m. midnight till 8 a.m. in the morning it will take off shift, and after this 8 a.m. again it will take this 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. on shift time period. And then what we will do, we will just add these time periods to the schedules. We just created time period on shift and time period off shift. So what we will do, we will give these time periods to the time schedules which we created. We will create two time schedules, off shift and on shift. In on shift, we will create this time period. In off shift, we will give this two off shift time periods. Then what we will do, then we will assign, this step is already done. Then we will do, we will assign this particular time schedule to the respective partitions. So we created two partitions as well. One is on shift and another one is off shift. So in off shift, in on shift partition, we will give on shift time schedule, and in the off shift partition, we will give off shift time schedule. I will show you with the help of the screenshots in this video. In the next video, I will show you how we can create all these things in the lab. And then we have the next step, that is step 5. We will create two similar directory numbers, like just say we can take the example of this directory number 1234. So we will create two similar directory numbers and assign one to the partition on shift and other to the partition off shift. So we will give, once we create this directory number, we will create one partition, this partition to the same number, and we will give the off shift partition, this one, to the same number again. So that's why it's in this way, it will show you it's like a two directory numbers, but these are similar directory numbers. So now let me show you with the help of screenshots. So now how you can create it, once you log in on your CUCM, the first step would be create a time period for the time frame between 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. and we need to give the name as on shift. So what we need to do, you can go to this call routing thing, and then under this control, under this class of control, you will be able to find this time period. So first you need to create time periods, then you can assign those time periods to the time schedule. Then you will assign that time schedule to the partition, and then you will assign that partition to the directory numbers, right? So let's move on to the next. So once we click on this time period, it will give you this thing, and you can just give the name as on shift time period. Description is on shift time period. You can choose the time here. So you are creating it for 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. So that's why we just choose 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. And we are just choosing it here as a week from week from Monday till Friday. So we are creating these time periods from Monday till Friday. Now what we will do next, we will create off shift. So for the off shift, again, you need to go to the same class of control, create two off shift, one from 12 to 8 and other from 4 to 24 hours. That is at 12 a.m. in the midnight. Again, you need to go to the class of control, time period, and in this time period, you will give the name off shift 1, and you will give the timings as 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. This is the first off shift time period. You can see week is Monday through Friday. And next you will create off shift 2. And in this off shift 2 time period, you will give the time from 4 p.m. till 12 a.m. in the midnight. And week is the same, that is Monday till Friday. Now we have created two off shift time periods and one on shift time periods. Now the next step would be to give these particular time periods to the time schedules. For the time schedule, you need to go to this class of control again, call routing, then same class of control, and then you have this time schedule. So once you click on this time schedule, you will create one like on shift time schedule. And once you give the name of on shift time schedule, you will be able to see the available time periods. So these are the available time periods which you just created. So you are creating this on shift time schedule, so you can give this particular time period, on shift time period, to the selected time periods in the on shift time schedule. Just select this one and drag it to the, we can say not drag it, just click on this arrow, we can say the drop down arrow. You can just click on this one and then it will be under this selected time periods like this. So now after this, you just need to click on save. Now your on shift time schedule is created with on shift time period. Now let's move on to the off shift one. So we will create one off shift time schedule. There is no need to create two off shift like off shift 1 and off shift 2. No, you can even give two off shift time periods like this way in one off shift time schedule. So that's why we just selected off shift 1, off shift 2 and this same off shift time schedule. Now our off shift time schedule is created, on shift time schedule is created, our off shift time period created, our on shift time period is created. Now we already gave the time periods of off shift and the on shift to the time schedules. So the next part would be to give this off shift and on shift time schedule to the partitions. So for the partition, I hope you maybe we can just create it normally, the partition. So after creating the partition, once you open the partitions, you will be able to see the name and the description is here. Here you will be able to see the option of time schedule. So now in the drop down, you need to choose the on shift. Why? Because you are using on shift partition here, so you will choose the on shift time schedule. And in the off shift partition like this, in the off shift partition you will choose the off shift time schedule. So now what all are the things we created? We created time periods, we gave those time periods to the time schedules. Like let me just do it this way. This is your partition, okay, this is your time period, and this is your time schedule. So first you created time periods and you give this time period to the time schedules. And after creating the time schedules, you gave these time schedules to the partitions. And the next step would be you will give these partitions to the directory numbers. This will be the next step. Let's see. So next step is the directory number. So you are in directory number configuration, that will be under call routing. So what you need to do, you need to create two similar directory numbers and assign the partition on shift and off shift. So once you open this directory number, you open like directory number 1234. We just took this example like 1234, and there is an option for root partition. And this you will give like this. This is our off shift partition. So this partition will be the don't check this description, this is not right. So this is our off shift partition. So off shift partition means this DN will be active from 4 p.m. till 8 a.m. in the morning next day. And then the next partition, that is this 1234 on shift partition, and the description is this DN is active from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. This partition will be active. So if this partition will be active, that means this directory number is active at that particular time. So at one point of time, only one directory number is active because we are taking 24 hours, full 24 hours in a day. If somebody is calling between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., it will be hit by this partition and this directory number. If somebody is calling after 4 p.m., then it will hit this off shift partition because we already scheduled the timings in that particular partition. We know we have the off shift time periods in that off shift schedule, and then that off shift schedule is under this off shift partition. And once if somebody is calling between 4 p.m. till 8 a.m. in the morning, it will be hit by this off shift partition, and then it will hit this directory number. And on this directory number, what we will do, we will just assign, we will just check mark the call forward also to voicemail. So now we created all these things. So now this is our the conclusion, like during 8 to 4 hours, during 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., call should hit the DN 1234 in the on shift partition. That can be the DN of a phone or a hunting number, anything. At other times, the call should hit the directory number 1234 in the off shift partition because they are calling between 4 p.m. till 8 a.m. And that could be go to the time schedule, time periods, and then that time period is time schedule is under off shift. So that's why it will hit the off shift partition, which can either point to a voicemail. That's the scenario we took it earlier. Like we can just check the check mark, the call forward all to voicemail, or even we can either point it to another translation pattern to point the call to front desk agent number like a receptionist number or any other number. So the best thing, like recommended thing, is we can say for off shift or for off hours, we can send that particular calls to the voicemail. So in the next lecture, we will discuss, like I will show you how we can create these things, how we can configure these things in the lab. I hope you really liked my video. Please like, share, and subscribe my channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you will be able to receive the notifications of all my upcoming videos. Thank you.